A strike has just been approved by the WNBA. 93% of voters said yes. Just 3 players declined. And those 3 players may be the only ones who are thinking clearly. Because the calendar is what no one is discussing. December is the off-season. What precisely are they attacking, then? Their living areas. Threatening to quit a job you're not even working at is analogous to this. The WNBA Players Association recently approved a strike with numbers that appear to be overwhelming. There were 154 participants. Just 3 people cast negative votes. The message is that if we don't get our way, we're prepared to shut it down. It sounds strong. It sounds like unity. However, there is a huge issue that everyone is overlooking. Additionally, I'm going to say what everyone is thinking, but I'm too scared to share. This authorization to strike is a bluff. And the league is fully aware of it. This is the reason. Only when you have leverage can a strike be effective. Sometimes refusing to work can harm the other side. However, there is currently no season, no games, and no money being made. It's similar to going on a hunger strike after having dinner. Unless this is all theater, a public relations ploy to put pressure on the league through headlines rather than real economic power, the timing is completely nonsensical. I'm not arguing that players shouldn't be paid more, just in case the comments blow up. I'm trying to convey that this tactic might backfire, therefore. It ends careers terribly. Let's discuss those 3 people who did not cast ballots. I can assure you that they are not the stars, even though no one knows who they are. They are not the athletes who have unparalleled contracts or endorsement deals. They are most likely bench or middle-tier players with important knowledge. They are the ones who are destroyed in the event of a lockout. Unrivaled is owned by Breanna Stewart and Fisa Collier. Regardless of what occurs, they are paid. The biggest stars have international contracts, Nike money, and other sources of cash. However, what about the 8th man on the bench who doesn't have a backup plan and is making league minimum? When there is no season and no income, what will happen to her? The 3 players who received no votes are those who are unable to risk their whole income on gambling. They may be the only realists in the room, to be honest. Let's now tackle conflict of interest, the elephant that no one likes to approach. In addition to serving as player agents at the negotiating table, Fisa Collier and Breanna Stewart are the owners of the rival league Unrivaled. The union leadership has signed a contract with Project B, a rival league.
Just to get you guys up to speed there, 93% of the players participated in the vote. So 93% of players in the WNBA. And how many is that? Could we do the math? I believe that there's 166 WNBA players times 0.93. Is that right? So 154 players voted and 3 players. So only 3 players voted no to the authorization of a strike.
And we're expected to act as though there isn't any conflict. Consider it. Where do supporters go if the WNBA season doesn't take place? Project B is unmatched. All of a sudden, these other leagues are the only choice. You can't ignore the optics, but I'm not claiming that's the goal. It's similar to restaurant owners negotiating the closure of their rival business while arguing that they are merely defending the rights of their employees. The math doesn't add up. Here's the unsettling reality that will soon destroy me in the comments. You are not being followed by your supporters to other leagues. Do you really believe that casual viewers who recently learned about Caitlin Clark will search for unmatched games on some obscure streaming app? Not taking place. Take a look at podcasting. Rogan, Joe wasn't just available on Spotify. Alex Cooper was only available on Spotify. What was the actual number of casual listeners who followed? A portion. And those are huge, cult-like personalities.
I do wonder, with these 3 players that voted against the strike, if I were to guess, I would say that these 3 players were probably players who aren't big-time players. Because if a strike or a lockout happens, it's going to hurt those middle tier and lower tier players more than it's going to hurt any of the stars.
Afterwards, because exclusivity killed their reach, they are now back on YouTube. When women's basketball splits into rival leagues vying for scraps, the same thing occurs. For decades, the WNBA worked to increase its visibility, TV deals, and infrastructure. That doesn't happen overnight. Unrivaled lacks the ecosystem even though it has money and star power. Project B remains a mystery. Even if they wanted to, Neither league could accommodate a complete WNBA squad, and we haven't even seen their product yet. Therefore, players are greatly overestimating their leverage when they discuss having options about playing elsewhere if the WNBA doesn't satisfy demands. Because the league loses if there isn't a 2026 season, but the unpleasant fact players suffer greater losses. The league is able to wait. It has experienced losses in the past. The NBA serves as a safety net. A year without basketball and bounce can be absorbed by it.
The viewers are not going to follow. They're truly not going to follow. I think it would absolutely be catastrophic if they don't play a 2026 season. Just look at like podcasting, for example, when like Joe Rogan or Alex Cooper went to Spotify and how many people went
back. Can the players, however, afford to forfeit a whole season's worth of pay, publicity, and professional advancement? Can they afford to let their hard-won momentum from the previous season fade away as supporters move on to the next trend and forget who they are? This is what the colleagues said in response, and it's important that you pay attention. They accused the union of seriously distorting the talks. They claimed to be proposing a revolutionary unlimited revenue sharing model along with large instant compensation increases. Unlimited. This implies that player salaries increase automatically and without limit as income rises. However, the union consistently claims that the offers are offensive, a smack in the face, and lipstick on a pig. Who is speaking the truth, then? Are the unions waiting for fantasy numbers while the league is genuinely making improvements? Or is the league misrepresenting its generosity as lowballing? The issue is that while both parties are conducting PR campaigns and conversations take place behind closed doors, we are unsure. Here's what we do know, though. The league has made measured and expert statements. In the meantime, the unions are using provocative language and planning strike votes that seem more like publicity stunts than practical strategies. Optics are important. Caitlin Clark is another. She essentially stated, "We need to compromise and get back on the court," as she emerged. She didn't oppose the UN. She wasn't disobeying orders. Was being realistic. She is aware that losing a season would be disastrous for all parties. However, because it seems that wanting to play basketball in 2026 makes you a scab, WNBA Twitter attacked her as if she had committed treason. The conversation is now broken. Nneka Aguam made a similar statement. She wants a season, but she also wants a decent deal. She understands that in order for a product to be appreciated, it must be presented on the court. That is not contentious. That's fundamental reasoning. However, the echo chamber is genuine when the narrative is all about unity and opposing the system, and anyone who suggests moderation is branded as weak or disloyal. This is my prediction. If I'm wrong, you can use this clip to make fun of me later. However, they close a deal. The union's constant demands for a 30% revenue sharing will not be fulfilled. Salaries will rise dramatically, possibly even more than anticipated, but the league isn't compromising on that. The compromise will be that the union claims to have fought and prevailed in order to salvage face. By defending its paradigm, the league avoids embarrassment. We get a season and everyone proclaims victory. Make a reservation. However, the harm has already been done. The conflict of interest accusations, the public squabbling, and the theatrics surrounding strike permission. It left a disagreeable flavor. When all they want is basketball, fans are tired of hearing about CBA discussions. Revenue sharing and collective bargaining are unimportant to casual viewers who only learned about Caitlin Clark and Angel Ree from the previous season. They want to know whether or not games are taking place. And I truly think the league will regress years if this continues into January 9th and we end up in a lockout or strike. Momentum is crucial in sports, not because athletes don't deserve better. At last, the WNBA gained widespread recognition, had a readership that ultimately attracted the attention of marketers and had cultural relevance. When compromise is readily available, you don't run the risk of over-negotiating. The three players who cast no votes are aware of this. They are aware that sometimes winning entails accepting the situation at hand rather than risking all for an unattainable perfection. They achieve perfection. Enemy of good, but the 93% of people who voted in favor drown them out. Overpowered by union public relations apparatus. Overshadowed by the myth that compromise equates to weakness. And perhaps I'm mistaken. Perhaps they wait and get everything, and everything turns out just fine. But since this isn't about right or wrong, I doubt it. It has to do with leverage. Additionally, players currently have less power than they believe, despite what the strike vote says. Since there is nothing to strike from during the off-season, the league is aware that they won't actually strike. The league is aware that the infrastructure of the WNBA cannot be replaced by other leagues. The league is aware that a fragmented product would not be followed by fans on several platforms. What is the endgame, then? Either the union is playing hardball and will ultimately make concessions, or they are truly ready to blow up the 2026 season over demands they might not receive. In the latter case, everyone loses if they allow this to result in a work standstill. Fans, players, the league, and the sport itself. I'm hoping I'm mistaken. I'm hoping they quickly reach an agreement. I hope that when we see WNBA basketball in the upcoming season, this will only be a small part of the league's development. However, I'm not optimistic at the moment because January 9th is approaching and both sides are fully committed. So please leave a comment. Should players accept the deal and resume playing basketball, or should they wait for 30% revenue sharing even if it ends the season? Because no one wants to have this topic, but everyone is in need. The risks are too great to act as though everything turns out the way we want it to. Speaking of huge stakes, let's change the topic to something that is actually taking place. NBA games on Christmas Day. Because the NBA is now playing basketball, in contrast to the WNBA. Revolutionary idea. New York versus Cleveland. Cleveland has been having trouble lately. I'll take the Knicks, then. This seems like their game, and they're riding high. In addition, Madison Square Garden will host home court on Christmas. All day long, that is Knicks territory. Oklahoma City versus San Antonio. After falling to the Spurs earlier, Thunder wants to exact revenge. This is located at OKC. I would normally be able to handle the Thunder with ease, but right now I'm going crazy. Give me back-to-back Spurs games. Versus OKC merely for the storyline. Wembanyama in a vengeful setting on Christmas. That is a must-watch television program. This cannot be scripted more effectively. Golden State versus Dallas. Warriors at home. This is being taken by them. It is practically a given that Steph Curry will perform on Christmas Day. Dallas is strong, but Golden State in that structure with that vibe. Warriors take a cruise. The Lakers versus Houston. A challenging one. Although Houston is a formidable team, they recently lost to Sacramento. LeBron will play for the Lakers at home on Christmas. They'll figure out how to accommodate the holiday throngs. Do that at all times. Denver, Minnesota. With the exception of San Antonio, am I really expecting a home sweep? Indeed. I am, indeed. Give me Minnesota. They recently defeated OKC. Big games in hostile territory are Anthony Edwards' passion. For the upset, Timberwolves. Put a mark on it. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.